Take a look behind the curtain with a real whistleblower and American patriot. Prepare to embrace the uncomfortable truth because this program has no time for comforting lies. Here is civil liberties enthusiast, Second Amendment defender, and recovering FBI agent Kyle Seraphin.
Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to the Kyle Seraphin Show. Today is Tuesday. It is February the 10th. Feels more like the 11th. I don't know. There's this scene in the movie Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Johnny Depp, and for some reason it's always stuck with me. And I always thought it was really funny. This guy's like, "What is it? Is it Saturday?" And the guy goes, "No, more like Sunday." Like there's no real distinction or difference. This month is really strange as we get through. I keep seeing some of the strangest stuff happening, and maybe the single weirdest moment is watching an administration, a political administration, Donald Trump's administration, full of people that are from Fox News and theoretically have an understanding of how public relations works and understand media, and that's kind of why they're in the positions they're in. Just going to lean back here and think about this for a second. They're failing dramatically on the one thing that you'd think PR people know how to do, which is narrative control. It's absolutely disastrous. And I every single day I wake up and I cover all the different major news sites. There's a huge number of people that still are generally disinterested. And so they might scan something that comes in on MSNBC, or they get whatever comes in from their NBC News app, or they get something from CBS. They get an email update, and here's the stuff. Maybe they have an RSS feed. I don't know. A lot of people do not curate their news, so it's just whatever they hear on the radio driving in, headlines at the top of the hour. And it's wall to wall with a few things. One, we're talking about a kidnapping, the narrative being played out on multiple different mainstream outlets are whether or not there's even a real kidnapping. And people keep pinging me and saying, "Hey, you want to come on and talk about this Guthrie kidnapping?" And the answer is no, I don't, because I don't know anything about it. And honestly, neither do any of the people that are talking about it. They're giving this experience as though they understand what's happening on the inside and we don't know. And I got to be honest, I don't really care. I can't care. And then the other thing is wall-to-wall Epstein coverage. And then the last piece of it is all about ICE and whether or not we're going to fund the government. And so there's two sides of that too that I keep seeing. But it's amazing to watch narrative control breakdown and failure. And so as people continue to look at stories, you'd think that if the interest doesn't wane in a year or in 10 years, or if the people that you put in that talked about something weren't able to come in and pivot the audience's mindset to something new, that at some point you would adopt a different strategy. And this is kind of that sort of internet definition of insanity that we all kind of heard, and I don't know who it's attributed to. I've heard it attributed to Einstein, but I don't know where it came from. Keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. We're watching an administration keep doing the same thing, deny, roll out all these sort of opportunities for people to see transparency, whatever the heck they think that means, and to just move on. And nobody will do it. Nobody will move on from the story of Jeffrey Epstein. And the problem is because all of their own words keep coming back to haunt them. And not a single person has been honest and just said, we're going to break down what the case was, why it was, and the group that did the investigation is going to explain it. And I shared this with Alex Jones's audience yesterday, and I'm telling you guys this morning, I do not understand how someone hasn't realized that to do transparency, it actually requires transparency, which means someone comes in and sits down with no agenda and no preconceived, no script, no off-limits territories, and they maybe have an attorney sitting next to them that says that you can or can't legally say this stuff, but based on what is in the law that was recently passed and signed into law by this president, maybe people would talk about it. So this narrative nightmare is not going anywhere, and I can't help but see it. It's bizarre. So we're going to get into all that. We're also going to talk about a couple things. There's also this really big push right now to just sling a bunch of slop at you because the midterms are coming, and Republicans are clearly panicking about that. So whether it's Lindsey Graham crying about going to his website and giving him $10 million, which is what he's asking for, or whether it's people that are obviously information ops pushing out old crap to try to get like the Q type group excited about something that's not real. It's absolutely not. If you guys are seeing that we just lost feed, yeah, I saw that too. I don't know what that means. I don't know why we've lost. But I'm going to continue to record, and we'll push it out there in the places where we need to. So if you guys just got cut out of the stream, sorry about that. Sometimes weird things happen here. That's just the way it goes, especially when we're talking about what this administration is doing on a failing point. So let's start off with an ad read before we get into the actual program. And here we go. Let's talk about the folks over at Patriot Protect. If you guys want to protect your name, your address, your phone number, your email address, the people you are surrounded by, your family and your loved ones and all that kind of stuff, you can do that with the folks at patriot-protect.com/Kyle. It's patriot-protect.com/Kyle. There is a link in today's show description, as usual. 2025 marked a turning point for the privacy and the security and maybe the threats against that to you. AI and increasing complexity increase the possibility of people scamming you. And they can do things like virtual kidnapping, which is like they know that your family member is out of reach and in a non-cell zone. So they send you messages asking for money and you can't get in touch with the family member and you panic, and maybe you do. We used to see this on the Indian reservation when I was working in the FBI. Emails impersonating banks will scam people. Phones and text messages, people impersonating voices, pulling AI to do all this kind of stuff. All of these things are the nuclear weapon systems, and you want to just not be available for that type of scam. You want to be not in the targeted pile of leads that they are going to sift through. The best way to do it is get yourself off these people search, these data broker websites that traffic in your information, give it away for free, and then people use it to try to scam you. So patriot-protect.com is constantly scanning the web with the search and destroy protocol, running continuous monitoring all the time to make sure that your exposures are detected and wiped off the web. They will keep you from getting as many spam calls. They will remove you from the things. And I've even got publicly listed email addresses, and I saw a dramatic decrease. My parents use it. Some of the other suspendables use it. My wife and I both use it. Check them out if you guys want. It's inexpensive. It's less than $10 a month. I don't know the exact dollar amount, but you'll save 15% using my name at checkout. Patriot-protect.com/KYLE. Link in the show description. Let's fire along and see if we get kicked off the web again. Here we go. Oh, man, I should put the chat up here since you guys are scrolling through. The chat is not going anywhere. And for whatever reason, our video feed is continuing to drop and go away and come back and do weird things. So if you guys have any problems keeping track of our program, and if you're not able to get it today, so be it. I understand that that will happen. The best thing you can do is follow us over on Spotify and make sure you have a backup channel, which I always will give you a clean version of the show. There's nothing I can do about it. We have multiple internet lines in here with fail-safe and failover redundancy. And if things don't work, there's nothing that happens on my end that makes it any better. So that's what we'll do. We'll do the best we can. Folks, check it out over at KyleSeraphinShow.com. Make sure you guys always have a backup option. Spotify will give you that. And it'll be clean and it'll be recorded locally. And I'll upload it when available. So sorry about all that if that's what's going on, and that always changes the game a little bit in the dynamic here. Let's talk quickly about this sort of Trump nightmare scenario, this failing of the narrative grab. And I actually wanted to start off with this guy, Jim Ferguson, because I saw this yesterday and I was like, I know that video. I know I've heard this before. I've heard this plan. What's going on? So here we go. This is what it looks like from whoever this guy is. He is pushing back on globalist control, has 400,000 followers on X, international ambassador, Freedom Train. I don't know what that means. Advance UK. Why someone from the UK is pushing Donald Trump's declaration of war against the deep state is bizarre. I don't get it. All right. Donald Trump has laid out the most aggressive plan ever. Proposed to dismantle Washington's permanent power structure, aka the deep state, and it targets the system at its roots. This isn't rhetoric. It's a blueprint. This is bullshit, people. Like in no uncertain terms. And I'm going to tell you why in a second. He says they're going to purge bureaucrats. They're going to clean house internationally and the intelligence community, overhaul FISA, expose deep state spying and censorship through Truth and Reconciliation Commission, declassify and release documents. I'm going to let him say it in his own words because he included this video here of Trump. So let's play that video for as long as it makes sense. And then we're going to get into why it's complete garbage. And also why this sort of information I don't know why it continues to work, but there are 21,000 people that thought this was great, which is a huge number of likes in ratio to what's going on. It's an indication of people looking for this moment of hope. And then I'm going to go dash it away from you because that's what I do.
Here's my plan to dismantle the deep state and reclaim our democracy from Washington corruption once and for all. And corruption it is. First, I will immediately reissue my 2020 executive order restoring the president's authority to remove rogue bureaucrats, and I will wield that power very aggressively. Second, we will clean out all of the corrupt actors in our national security and intelligence apparatus, and there are plenty of them. The departments and agencies that have been weaponized will be completely overhauled so that faceless bureaucrats will never again be able to target and persecute conservatives, Christians, or the left's political enemies, which they're doing now at a level that nobody can believe even possible. Third, we will totally reform FISA courts, which are so corrupt that the judges seemingly do not care when they are lied to in warrant applications. So many judges have seen so many applications that they know were wrong, or at least they must have known. They do nothing about it. They're lied to. Fourth, to expose the hoaxes and abuses of power that have been tearing our country apart, we will establish a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to declassify and publish all documents on deep state spying, censorship, and corruption. And there are plenty of them. Fifth, we will launch a major crackdown on government leakers who collude with the fake news to deliberately weave false narratives and to subvert our government and our democracy. When possible, we will press criminal charges. Sixth, we will make every inspector general's office independent and physically separated from the departments they oversee so they do not become the protectors of the deep state. Seventh, I will ask Congress to establish an independent auditing system to continually monitor our intelligence agencies to ensure they are not spying on our citizens or running disinformation campaigns against the American people, or that they are not spying on someone's campaign like they spied on my campaign. Eighth, we will continue the effort launched by the Trump administration to move parts of the sprawling federal bureaucracy to new locations outside the Washington swamp. Just as I moved the Bureau of Land Management to Colorado, as many as 100,000 government positions could be moved out, and I mean immediately, of Washington to places filled with patriots who love America, and they really do love America. Ninth, I will work to ban federal bureaucrats from taking jobs at the companies they deal with and that they regulate. So they deal with these companies and they regulate these companies, and then they want to take jobs from these companies. It doesn't work that way. Such a public display cannot go on, and it's taking place all the time, like with Big Pharma. Finally, I will push a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on members of Congress. This is how I will shatter the deep state and restore government that is controlled by the people and for the people. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. That was all bullshit, wasn't it? And when did that come out? Oh, it turns out that you can just ask AI these days, which is really helpful. This video was originally aired on March 21st of 2023. That video is almost 3 years old. That's why you guys have seen it. That's why that dramatic music. It sounds really good. It sounds great when you have no power and you're not in a position to do anything. One of the reasons that I continue to hammer home on this Agenda 47 is because you've had a year in this space. And so why don't we hold you accountable to the things that you promised? I didn't promise them. You didn't promise them. You asked for them because that's what you meant. When someone says, I'm going to do these things, this is why I want this job. Imagine hiring somebody for a job when they told you, I've got all these things that I can do. And you're like, great. Then they get into the office and you're like, so you said you could do these things. Is that, when is that happening? Because that's the expectation. The expectation is if you're going to work, like, do we have a congressional amendment in front of us for term limits? Has that happened? What I heard was the same music for like Armageddon. Like we're about to send a bunch of coal miners and oil well drillers off to the asteroid that's going to destroy America and the world. The universe is going to end. And we have this brave group of people that are walking in slow motion towards some sort of a, last ditch effort that all humanity is behind. It's a guy who gets in a crop duster and is going to fly it directly into the aliens in Independence Day. I mean, it's heroic we're going to come back from the brink. We've had a bad run and things have gotten bad. It looks really dark, but it's always darkest before the dawn. And now we're going to come. And then it's like, it's all crap. It's all just talk. That's why people are not going to go and vote for the Republicans during the midterms. I'm not the only one who's noticing this stuff. And I'm not doing it to be mean. I'm doing it because I actually wanted that. That all sounds great. Let's do, look, I think we should be able to just vote out people, but we don't. Let's be honest. The power of the incumbency, including the fact that you have people that are the Speaker of the House and the House like minority guys go in and they say, what do they say? The leaders of the parties will walk out and say, I'm part of the incumbent protection system. Because once we get you into this office, once we get you to be a member of Congress and we get you to jump on board with all the crap that we're doing, and we've appropriately sort of leaned on you in the ways that we need you to be leaned on, we don't want to go do that again with a new person. Right? People have asked about how did these people go into government and immediately become compromised? You're looking at this all wrong. Allow me to put my idea out there. And I do it based on the experience I had being in the FBI, watching the types of people that get into senior management in that agency, which I think is indicative of a lot of different places. The people that end up in the positions to make compromised decisions were compromised before they got there. They were chosen because they were pre-compromised. Yesterday, we did a whole little expose on the adultery and the scumbaggery and even the reputational damage that was done by someone to the point where he had to leave the agency at the FBI. What happens next? He's going to be number 4 in the Bureau. He's going to be the highest ranking FBI agent handling criminal investigations in this nation. And he got there by doing what? Being an okay agent, banging somebody else's wife who worked in the office with him while cheating on his own spouse, and then having to leave in disgrace, getting brought back in by a guy who did the things that Republicans said was truly problematic, which was investigate Congress people, to go after congressmen and senators. And so that person needed to be fired. So his buddy got fired, but he got in. And you know what they love? They love somebody who's compromised. Great little side-to-side story here. The person who ended up being the requisitioner of my firearm, took my gun when I was working for the Bureau, was a guy who previously had gotten to a shooting in Baltimore, shot at an unarmed woman because she had metallic nail polish, apparently, and claimed that it was a gun. Then he stopped shooting. She got up and ran out of the room, and he shot after her. I have it on multiple accounts that people on that team, they quit in protest when he was allowed to stay on the SWAT team. Fired at an unarmed woman going into a room. Then she got up and ran, fled, and he fired at her more, blindly, through drywall. His name is Mike Copeland. Mike Copeland is the senior team leader and the senior tactics instructor and the senior firearms instructor for the Albuquerque division when I was working there. How does someone go from getting into a shooting that basically was a bad shoot and not justifiable? How does that guy turn around, get retrained, and then sent off to be in charge of this SWAT team in another place, be in charge of all the firearms policy, be in charge of all the tactics instruction, when he made terrible decisions when he had the opportunity to do so? The only time that you actually suit up and really get into it is when you go into a room with a weapon system and you decide shoot or no shoot when there's people in there. And he decided to shoot. And the reason why the FBI didn't crucify him was because Freddie Gray had just happened. And so they didn't want to see Baltimore burn down with the FBI shooting at an unarmed black woman. Yeah, she was a black lady. It was Baltimore. So he got retrained and then sent out and then promoted to the top of the chain in his little division area. They send the people that are compromised out there to be in charge. Why do they do that? Because those people are never going to freaking say no to the wrong thing. They're always going to say yes. They're always going to do what they're told. I think they do the same thing in Congress. Once they found you, once they've leaned on you, yeah, there's going to be people like Thomas Massie that vote their principles. There's going to be the Rand Paul types. There's probably people like that on the political left too that sort of like hold uncompromising positions and they just don't change. Bernie Sanders might be that guy for all I know. You know, Bernie Sanders probably believes what Bernie Sanders says because he just kind of does the same thing all the time. You can listen to his words. He repeats himself. He has for like decades. But once you get the people that are going to be part of the coalition, that's going to be enough of a base to be able to accomplish what you want. Why on earth would you let those people get voted out of office? So Donald Trump saying that he was going to do a constitutional amendment to be able to stop and to put in term limits. Yeah, he would need people to vote on it. But how many Americans would look and say, you know what, I'm really sick of not being represented? People on the left, people on the right. I would say that even the Democrat Republican side, the establishment version of it, forget that. How about the squishy 80%, the American middle, which I do think is right of center. And I think it's right of where our politics are today. Would they say, you know what, I'd like to see some term limits? Let's hit them real quick. Let's hit them why this is important. NBC News, first story of the day. Members of Congress are fleeing the job at a historically high rate. 51 House members and 9 senators have decided not to run for re-election, the most retirements from Congress in this century. Well, this story has 2 pieces to it. Some feel like they've hit the appropriate retirement age. Others want to tend to their health or their families, and more are leaving because they don't like the workplace. And who could blame them on that one? Let's keep rolling down here. Add it all together, and there are members of Congress that are heading for the exit at a historically high rate in the 2026 midterms, with 2 more Republicans adding themselves to the growing roster last week. Barry Loudermilk, Republican Georgia, who said he's now going to burn it all down when it comes to the pipe bomb case. I hope he does. That'd be great. He announced that he was retiring from Congress. Yet another one, a guy named Mark Amodei. Is that right? Amodei? Republican Nevada announced that he wouldn't run for re-election. They want to spend more time with family. It's the right time for Nevada. It's time for me to pass the torch. That means that there are, 60 members of Congress have decided not to run. But let's also consider how old these group of people are. So here's a story that was run by NBC as well. And this one was run, I think we even covered it then. 24 members of Congress are 80 years old or older. Some of them, by the way, are not giving up the ghost and are sticking around and are not giving up at midterms. Isn't that incredible? 24 members of Congress are 80 years or older. More than half are running for re-election. You got 12 people over 80 that think they need to stay there. Why? So, did we get the term limits? Did Donald Trump's really important message there hit home, which he did 3 years ago? It's not like he hasn't had time to think about it. It's not like he hasn't had time to put some plan into action. It's not like he didn't have time to lean on the Republicans and say, by the way, not only am I the nominee, but now I'm the president-elect. And by the way, now I'm the president for over a year. So how about we get to my agenda on this? Can you propose this amendment so we can all vote on it? Interesting how that never made it anywhere. Completely ignored. Luckily, it was at the end of a 3-minute and 30-second segment where people have basically lost their attention span. I'm not the only person seeing this. Jimmy Dore, comedian, who does a lot of news for people now. And I've listened to him talk about it, and he's got a very popular show. And the reason why is because people want someone who doesn't have to say one thing or another. And people look at Jimmy Dore and they say, okay, fine. Comedians always cut through a lot of stuff and they tell you the truth in a way that is palatable, that's funny. He's talking about all the failures. It's not because it's hip or fun. Like nobody's all the stuff that he was laying out there sound great. Fixing the economy, making sure, I don't know that you can do that. But by the way, that's idiocracy. We got this smart guy and he's going to fix the economy, right? Like that was President Camacho. It's a freaking movie. Everybody runs on the same thing. I'm going to end the drought in the wasteland. I'm going to fix the economy. I'm going to stabilize the stuff. I'm going to end the debt. Yeah, except that didn't happen. We have Agenda 47. It was laid out 3 years ago. I have it on my screen. It sits to the right of me. Whenever I do an interview, it's always there. And I can refer to it. And he gets maybe a C- at best. And the problem is, if you're not getting an A+ rating moving towards, you can move towards 5 of them and crush it. And you're like, man, you really knocked off the first 5 things on your list. You really knocked off the first 8 things on the list. You get another chance to keep going. But the way that it works in our system is you get about a year to show massive progress. Then there's a year that you get to campaign on that progress while you better continue it on. And then you might get another 2 years extension. It's like every video game I ever saw where you're running out of time and you got to hit the boost to get that clock up. It's a very short cycle because of the way we've run things. And by the way, it wouldn't be that cycle if we didn't have a broken Congress. If our Senate actually worked the way it was supposed to work, then you wouldn't have this problem. But instead, everybody's in constant campaign mode. So here's Jimmy Dore calling out the same failures that I see and that many of you see. And it's why people can't get excited. It doesn't mean that people won't vote. It means that nobody's going to get super amped up about it. And nobody's feeling like, yeah, we're winning. And I talked about this on Alex Jones. I'm going to give you a little more reflection on that in just a second.
Let's switch back a little to all the crazy shit going on in the world, because there's so much right now, like these wars.
It's just amazing to me, Jake, how fast Donald Trump did a 180 from his campaign. And he has. He said he was going to cut the deficit. He didn't. They're exploding the deficit, and he's going to do Doge, and he didn't do Doge on the Pentagon, and now not only are they not doing a Doge on the Pentagon, they're going to try to give another $1 trillion to the Pentagon, the 1.5 trillion now. So So when he came in, it was $800 billion a year, and he proposes 1.5 trillion, which is almost 100% increase, like a 90% increase. So he's doing that without doing a Doge on Pentagon, right? And when I had Steve Bannon on my show, he said, well, you'll know if they're serious about Doge if they go to the Pentagon. And they didn't. So that proves they were never serious. This was all just bullshit. And that's why I think what Elon Musk figured out, like, oh, this isn't real.
He like bounced and said Trump was in the Epstein files.
Because they didn't cut that money, by the way. So they maybe cut that money from USAID, but they just took it and gave it to the Pentagon, or they took it and gave it to the CIA. They didn't stop spending that money or stop doing the things that they were doing. And so it's not only that, but then the free speech thing. He's instituted hate speech laws. He's instituted DEI. He never stopped funding the Ukraine war. He's still funding the genocide in Gaza. He bombed Iran at the behest of Israel. He bombed Yemen at the behest of Israel. Look what he did at Venezuela, which also is at the behest of Israel.
It's insane. We kidnapped a president, and the same administration still running the country. We didn't take over Venezuela. Right. We just went and kidnapped.
So there's some interesting discussion. Are we about to go to war with Iran? I see that Mark Levin is desperately begging for us to bomb them. Looks like Glenn Beck's on board with that as well. I saw that this morning. I don't know when he changed this, but if you're watching on the program, you can see that I've got Glenn Beck's sort of profile picture up for his X account, and it streams live with the Glenn Beck show or whatever the warm-up show is to it. And I'm looking over here, and what do I see? Instead of a picture of Glenn Beck, all I saw was this green, white, red with the lion and a sword, which is like the Persian identity flag that goes back pre-revolution 1979, and it represents the people who oppose the Islamic regime in Iran, which sounds great. I mean, that's fine. I'm not a huge fan of Iran, obviously. I also don't make it part of my identity. Well, why on earth would that be the thing that represents you? You're going to stand in solidarity with people who are not you. Whatever happened to the America First people? I don't get it. I don't get how people have pivoted so quickly from that. And now it's like, yeah, we have to bomb Iran because that's what the United States really, really requires. Is that true? Because I walk out and talk to neighbors all the time, and not one person has ever brought up to me, God, have you seen what we ought to do to Iran right now? Zero people in my real life as I walk around. I've heard zero people mentioning it when I'm standing in line at a grocery store, if I'm at Home Depot and I'm walking through the aisles and looking for batteries for my power tools or looking for a new blade for my saw. Zero people are like, shit, Iran is really mouthing off. We're going to have to do something about them soon. They're like, holy crap, it's $75 for a freaking saw blade. It better be really good. This must be the most precision saw blade ever. Oh, wait, you can spend more. This one's $100. That's what people talk about in the line when I'm walking around. So to see the people that have the Fox News, that have the sort of mainstream establishment right talking points, and everybody's pushing forward this thing, that makes me very uncomfortable. I'm pretty sure, I'm going to pull it up real quick just so I'm pretty sure that Donald Trump ran on no new wars. I was there. Maybe you were too. Let's see here. We're looking through the agenda. He wanted to shut down the border. We gave him points for that. Carry out the largest deportation operation. More of that in a little bit, but it can't do that anymore. We can't do the largest deportation. We're going to do targeted operations so that it's palatable. Make America the dominant energy producer. Stop outsourcing. Large tax cuts. Defend the Constitution. Prevent World War III. It was number 8. No new wars is number 8. Restore peace in Europe and in the Middle East. Build a great Iron Dome missile system for our country. Or we could just bomb Iran, apparently, and keep Glenn Beck and Mark Levine happy. We can get a bunch of boomer war boners going, throbbing. Lindsey Graham can also get excited about it. I don't know. I'm just looking at the guy based on what he was supposed to do. What are we going to get? Are we going to get some bipartisan fixings because people want to take care of stuff? Sure, we are. Tell me that they're not all in on it together when you see headlines like this. Elizabeth Warren and conservative stalwart with nice voice and pretty family and handsome and well-spoken and articulate Josh Hawley. They're going to do a bipartisan Senate duo to break up big medicine. They're going to stop the pharmaceutical conglomerates. And they're going to do so with government solutions and more laws and litigation. Is that right? Is that how we're going to fix the healthcare situation in this country? Guys, I was telling someone the other day, I think I was talking to my neighbor. I'm trying to remember who this conversation was with. I was like, I lost my job with the federal government and I didn't get healthcare insurance from then on out. In that time, we've had major life events like many of you will. We've been sick like everybody and we got home and we healed up at home. No problem. I have a child who's never seen a doctor. Not once, not in her whole life has she ever seen a doctor. And she's like 2.5 years old. It turns out she's just fine. She has all the regular cuts and bruises and the nicks and falls and, drops on the ground. And we handle them the same way people did when I'm watching the show Little House on the Prairie, which is that they had a doctor for things that were necessary, but mostly it's not. What are you getting for your health insurance? All these people that are worried about how much health insurance costs. My neighbor and I have this conversation. He's like, yeah, like probably $650, $700 per paycheck is deducted to pay for healthcare. And I'm like, and what do you get for it? And he was like, yeah, I go and I buy ivermectin over the counter. That's what I do. When my kids are sick, I treat them myself because it's obvious what needs to be done. Well, so what is the $1,400 a month that you're writing off in your paycheck? Elizabeth Warren and Josh Hawley is going to fix your problem. The problem is that Americans are like basically financially illiterate and can't look into the fact that these enormous businesses are in business because there's money to be made in that business. And how many of you guys are also paying significant copays or whatever the hell that means? You pay them so you have access to a doctor so that you can pay them a huge amount because you have a high deductible copay. What is your value? It's like you're paying $1,400 a month to feel okay if something bad happened. Maybe you got in a car accident or something. Most of you have medical in your car accident policies. Most of you have an umbrella policy on your house if something were to happen in your home. So what is it covering you from? Just like being alive? So anyway, I read these stories and it's like, yeah, I get it. Everybody is scared to walk out and not have that one thing. It's kind of like walking out your house without having your cell phone. Turns out most of us in our life used to walk out the house, not have a cell phone in our pocket. We were totally fine. And people could find us or not find us. And we turned up whenever we turned up. You can put your phone in a Faraday case the way I do, and you can go for a hike with or without it, or you can leave it in the car and you'll be fine. You're not going to fall off a mountain or get eaten by a mountain lion any more than you would have otherwise. And the phone wasn't going to help you. And for most of you, that's what I look at this stuff. It's like we need more solutions to get big pharma and insurance companies that are gobbling up independent healthcare providers and pharmacies and help working Americans. We're going to help working Americans with, wait for it, Josh Hawley says, more freaking government. There is no political right in this country right now. That's why people are not excited about midterms, because people are looking and they're like, yeah, you're all full of shit. And you've always been full of shit. And now people are frustrated with it. Because, as was said by a couple of people I saw in these social media clips, Americans outsourced the revolution. There was a revolutionary attitude that was coming down, and people were ready to get really wild. Were they not? In 24, you guys saw Donald Trump get shot. Remember that? And then another assassin popped up outside of his golf course, and people were like, this is nuts. This cannot continue. We need a revolutionary person, or we're going to have a revolutionary movement. Those are the two things. By the way, we're worried about a revolutionary movement apparently in Iran. That's more important. Don't pay attention to what's happening in your own country. And Donald Trump has done one thing over and over again. He overpromises. He promised it in March of 2023. He promised it all the way through the campaign. He promised it at the beginning of his own presidency in the first 100 days, talking about what an amazing job they were going to do. And every single one of those things has gotten pulled back. All of them have. Overpromised, underdelivered. That might work with really high-end real estate, where you convince people who spent billions of dollars on things that they probably shouldn't have, that they got a great deal, and so they feel good about it, but it doesn't work for regular people who barely can make ends meet. And there are a lot of people out there that are suffering financially. We have a K-shaped economy. The one part goes up. The people that have above average incomes and above average wealth, they do well in an economy with a lot of inflation. The person that does not, the people who have blue collar jobs and calluses on their hands and are looking every single day and trying to figure out, hey, do I need to pick up another shift so I can afford groceries? Talk to one of our friends at church. They've got a bunch of kids. He works in my old profession, and he's like, I've got a bunch of mouths to feed. I've got to go work OT on the day of rest. Why? Why does that have to happen? Because that's the nature of the beast right now. Things are expensive and they haven't gone down. Telling people they've gone down doesn't work either, it turns out. Just saying things that are not true for people's everyday. I had someone say, great, thanks so much for fixing the economy. The coffee that I used to pay $12 for a 1 pound bag is now $20, and it hasn't gone down. It may not be more expensive than it was, 6 months ago, but it's still $20. It's still 40% more expensive than it was when I wanted to go buy it before. So what do you do with that information? You can't do anything. You just continue on and just go, yeah, this is really expensive. It's a heavy burden to bear. Don't tell me everything is great. Don't piss on my leg and tell me that it's rain and that we should be so grateful for the rain. I can see you with your fly down over there. So that's what people are frustrated with. And it's going to end up in a really bad spot because trying to sugarcoat it and pull the Donald Trump, like covering things in gold and acting like it's great, is not going to fly. And then it's going to be impeachments and destruction for them. And for some of us, we're just going to go, you're not representing us anyway. So like, what did I lose? I don't think that we necessarily have real elections in this country, but I do think that the impeachments and the results of them will be real. And so do you. When I talked to Alex Jones yesterday, he was like, how does he not see that he's going to end up in prison? And I go, I don't know. For a people who were supposedly so narrative conscious, so aware of the media environment, to not get it at all is wild. That's where that Epstein stuff comes in. Because they just can't run out. You can't run fast enough to get away from something that you told everybody was important. We believed you. Shame on us, I guess. Now shame on you. So allow me to throw this up here on the screen if you guys are watching. I don't know if we're still having streaming issues, but I appreciate you guys joining us over on YouTube. If we're still working on Rumble, great. Otherwise, find us on Spotify, KyleSeraphinShow.com. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel in more than one place because you never know when we're going to have a stream failure. By the way, it's not on my side. I checked. Both of my lines are working great. So that's always pretty weird. Maybe there's an issue with our restreaming service. Subscribe. Give us a like if you can. We appreciate that. Bumps us in the ratings. And then more importantly, you guys may hear an ad from Spotify right now, which means if you're just hearing it and not seeing it, maybe you want the visuals too. Join us over at KyleSeraphinShow.com. Very easy to get to. There's the link. You guys can see it on the screen. And if you can't see it, then go to a place where you can. That's how you do that. Very easy. Okay, let's do a couple of other little stories here that I think are quite interesting. I'm just really let down by the idea that we're supposed to believe there is, in fact, a two-party system when it's pretty obvious it's not. Oh, before we do the ICE thing here, this is where I realized that the hype is trying to outpace the reality. Imagine going on some pro-hype channel and pushing this slop out and thinking that people believe you. I know it's coming from the top because Donald Trump's doing the same messaging. Here is Bannon's War Room. This guy named John Fredericks. He's talking about how he went from DC and it was so refreshing to go to Florida because people are so pumped up and because the economy's so awesome. I'll take things that didn't happen for 500, Alex.
You got all these good things happening in the economy, and people are starting to feel it. Gas prices have come down, et cetera. So people are starting to feel, hey, there's a light here at the end of the tunnel. And I was becoming almost the cultural center of the MAGA base and your posse base out here because the people are fired up. And so the spring in my step, being here just 2 days over the weekend from where it was, spending 3 weeks in Washington, D.C. every day at the White House, unbelievable difference, Steve. And it gives me great hope that we're going to turn this thing around in the midterms. I think we got a shot right now when this economy turns. We got a shot to actually win these midterms and save the House.
I'm so fired up, and everybody around me is fired up, and esprit de corps will carry the day. Never mind the fact that we don't have the weapons, the training, or the capabilities to actually do the operation that we need to do. Never mind the fact that the enemy is superior, better masked, and ready to go. Don't worry about that, because we feel awesome, and we're super pumped, and we feel good, and we're all fat and sloppy, and we're all going to get killed. And then you're going to get mowed down on the beachhead. This entire presidency was supposed to be an invasion. It was supposed to be a D-Day type thing on the mechanisms of government that people saw as being corrupt. That's what was promised. There was going to be a taking back. Did you hear it? Trump said it himself. He said that we are going to take back things from the deep state. We are going to eliminate corruption and so on. You only do that by staging a hostile takeover. And the hostile takeover basically never even landed. It never even got out of the water. I'm not even sure if the landing crafts made it into the shallow waters enough to be able to deploy the troops. It just didn't happen. And now they're talking about maybe if the economy turns, which they said the economy turns, but maybe if it actually does turn, because we said it turned, but it didn't turn. And if that happens, guess what? Then we have a shot at holding on to the House, which we had a majority in. Just freaking yikes. And this is, and now Trump is letting you know, like, he's frustrated with you. It's not his fault that he made a bunch of claims that he couldn't. By the way, he didn't have to make those claims. What are the odds that I used to go to tactical trainings when I was in the FBI. I've done it since too. I've done some training on my own. One of the things that I learned from a guy who was like a longtime operator, came out of the military from the special operations community, JSOC guy, and then rolled in and was at FBI's HRT. And so he was training, and I don't remember what the thing was, probably vehicle close quarters or something, Will Petty, vehicle dynamics, something like that. So we're doing some, pretty sophisticated shooting in and around through vehicles, etc., force on force, tactics, techniques, positions, etc. And the guy's like, look, man, I've been to hundreds and hundreds of trainings from hundreds of different capable operators of all the different things. When you get to one of these things and you're here for a week, he's like, you're going to be able to perfect maybe one tactic or technique. That's it. You really don't have that much time. So in a shortened and compressed timeline where you're getting a bunch of information, where you're exposed to things that you might want to do, you're really only going to be able to work on and take home one, maybe two of them. And so I was like, yeah. He's like, so that's how you judge success. You don't overpromise. You don't plan on like, I'm going to come out here as a superior operator and like, I'm going to be the king of shooting in and around vehicles. It's like, no. I'm going to learn that when this thing happens, I'm going to respond this way, and I'm going to go do it a few times. So if I need to do a reload with my rifle system, I know now, and this is one of the things I learned in that course, I can jam my rifle into the tail light of a car, which will pin it in place. And then I can do an emergency reload, even if I only have one hand. That's one of the things I walked away with. And the other one was the speed of shooting out of appendix carry versus shooting from a hip holster. That was something else I did. So I walked away with some really good tactics for reloading a vehicle under duress in a bad scenario and pulling a weapon system that I carried in concealment from the place that I normally carried it. That's it. For a whole week, 8 hours a day. For 5 straight days, 40 plus hours of training in the sun, putting a bunch of rounds down range. That's what I walked away with. Donald Trump had basically a year to get on the scoreboard. And if he had said, there are 4 things we're going to focus in on. We're going to shut down the border. We're going to deport all the bad guys. We're going to get rid of the mid-level managers in the FBI, or in the federal government, and de-weaponize the FBI and DOJ, whatever that, those are the same thing, but it's like a nuanced version. We could have done that in a year. We really could have. For all the people complaining, like, these things take time. Guess what? You don't get time. So make enough promises that you can actually walk through. You can actually show tangible results. And anything beyond that is a waste. Or you could just tell everybody, I don't understand why they're not so excited. Like, we did such a great job. Now we have to go out there and market our wins. Welcome to politics, my friend. I mean, that's what you do. That's literally what they do. They work for a year, then they campaign for a year. And you campaign on the victories that you worked on for the year. And you're coming up big time, short. Here he is sitting down and talking about how it's the media's fault that they didn't cover his great stuff. This was baked into the cake. Like, who'd you think you were? It's almost like you didn't live for the first 4 years of your first presidency and then the time before that.
Can you beat history on these midterm elections? Yeah. Carry the House and the Senate for the GOP. Can you do it on the economy? Do you need more communication? Do you need more marketing? Do you need more help? I mean, the numbers are on your side. The question is, does the public know this?
Well, we have a fake news that doesn't get the word out. That's why I love doing an interview. We get the word out. Mm-hmm. But so you ask a question. In 50 years, a president that's won, even a popular president, somebody that's done well. I'm popular and I've done well. I mean, I think we have the greatest economy actually ever in history. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. That's said by everybody. We have the hottest country in the world. I guess I have to sell that because we should win in a landslide, and we'll do everything we can to do it.
What does it even mean to have the hottest country in the world? Are you advertising for a nightclub? And who who are you advertising that to? The hottest country in the world. We already live here, the people that voted for you. Bubba, what's happening here? I don't understand. I actually don't understand. I'm not being clever or coy with you guys. I don't know what that means. We have the hottest country in the world. I thought we were trying to get rid of people. I thought we wanted, like, don't come in. We're trying to fix our stuff. America is not great. We're a country in decline. Did anyone else watch am I the only person that watched the campaign? We're a nation in decline. We were great, but we're not anymore. We have all these problems. The only way we're going to get it is if I show up and fix them. All right? You've been elected. You got hired. Get to work. What's it look like? Oh, you have an agenda? Fantastic. What are those? 20 core promises to make America great again. Why does it need to be made great again? Oh, because it's not great right now? Tracking. I agree. Yeah, things were better 25, 30 years ago. 100%. America thought they were the good guy. Another discussion I had with Alex Jones. Real simple. It's like, why do people look back to the 80s and 90s and think that things were so good? And the reason why, and I've had younger people ask me this, like people in their 30s, they're like, why do people look back nostalgically to that time? And I go, well, the big reason is because America believed that America was the good guy. There wasn't all this demoralizing, you're involved in a bunch of evil. And so we just won the Cold War. We watched a lot of people in the world come up out of poverty, mostly because of the power of capitalism and the free markets and so on. And so people went, America is really the shining example of what can happen. We had two conflicting ideologies at the very base level. One was collectivists. Collectivists said communism, socialism, Marxism, organized economy, central planning, that was the way to go. And then the alternative idea was let the market do its thing. Did we really have that? No, that was made up. We didn't really have that. We had a very managed economy, and we had a lot of elements of socialism as safety nets going back to the 1930s. But that was the thing that we sold. We sold it that we were the freer of the two options, and the freer of the two options triumphed. And people were like, that's awesome. Let's do it. Let's make it so. And then we had 25, 30 years of people demoralizing it, saying that because you have more than others, you're the bad guy, and all this sort of guilt, all this sort of like class warfare type stuff. And what did it play on? It played on feminine instincts, and the feminine left picked up, and the masculine right. And those are just the ethos. It's a masculine, feminine, not male and female. Masculine and feminine. Compassion, empathy, feelings over rationality, facts, numbers, etc. Right? And we leaned on the left, and we've gone left and left and left. And there is no right wing in American politics right now at the major levels. People thought it was great when we had a balance. The old balance was, we're the good guys. How do we achieve better good things? And the left would say it was through more government and more planning and better taxes and better distribution and programs. And the right would be like, no, it's limited government and smaller taxes. And you should do it in your community. And maybe you should go to church. And so everyone was like, yeah, okay, let's hash it out. And let's find some squishy middle version of it. Let's do a FACE Act where you can't block an abortion clinic, but you also can't go into a church and stop a worship service. And people were like, that's reasonable. Okay, fine. They protected one side and they protected the other side. And they were like, yeah, that's what compromise looks like. You get something and I get something. Now what do we got? Now we just swing pendulum to pendulum. It's like, oh, we're exclusively going to go after this thing. We're exclusively going to do this thing. We're going to just act like the last 4 years didn't happen. We're going to pretend like you didn't even you couldn't even keep track of our media promises. I'm serious. Like I don't. Number 2, carry out the largest deportation operation. So what do we get? We get this. This is where the fight is right now. There's a backlash on the promise that Trump made as the number 2 most important thing. Number 1, stop the bleeding. Number 2, try to get rid of the poison that's in the bloodstream. Backlash. Trump emboldens Democrats on DHS and ICE as partial shutdown looms, and the Republicans are acting like a government shutdown is a problem. And I cannot fathom for the life of me why a group that in my lifetime used to campaign on smaller government would cry about shutting down the government, except they're giving up the game right there. They're letting you know that they're not about small government, and they won't be. And they haven't been. Not for a really long time, which is why people are going to just tune out. And they're going to go, yeah, we heard what you promised, and then we saw what you did. And your actions speak louder than words. and we're not interested anymore. Surveys show that Americans are souring on Donald Trump's immigration crackdown. The reason why? Because nobody wants it to go softer. There are some soft, like very vocal women that are saying it, and there are men that feel like they have to be feminized. But I don't know very many people that are like, you know what I really want? I want to see illegal aliens come into my country without being allowed here, break in, violate our laws, steal somebody's identity, and then take jobs from my kids so that they can't have a job. That's what I really need in this country. Isn't there enough jobs to go around? And when they are actually living in a reality where they know my kid out of college can't find a job. I saw a post this morning. It said, if it costs more to get the degree that you need to be able to get the job, if the job doesn't earn enough to pay for the degree you got, it's a freaking scam. So we're currently scamming our own children, knowing that they're going to walk out saddled with debt they'll never be able to pay, or that they pay off so slowly that they're in it forever. And then what? Illegal aliens can steal their identity and get a job and drive around and do whatever they want. I mean, this is wild stuff. This is why people are going to tune out. And it's not because Donald Trump is delivering the best economy. It's because they didn't do what they said hard enough. You underpromise and you overdeliver. If you said we're going to try to get rid of all the illegal aliens that also have violent felonies on their records, people would be like, okay, yeah, we want that. And then it'll be like, by the way, if you're also an illegal alien and you're near a felon, we're grabbing you too. And people would go, yeah, get them out. They would cheer you on. They'd be like, bonus. You offered me the 3-piece nuggets, but I also got fries. Killer. Like everybody likes to get the bonus. Instead, what they said is, we're going to get everybody. We're going to give you the entire menu and it's all going to come out free. And then you're like, oh, okay, that's okay. That sounds good. Yeah, I'm in for that. And then they're like, here's half the menu. And by the way, it costs twice as much. And you're like, not into that. Not going to do it. Everybody in sales knows this. You never overpromise more than you can give, because then you're a failure. If you promise less and then you give more, you're the winner. You're the hero. I had an experience with a workbench. I bought a workbench and I hit them up and I go, hey, the workbench came in and the top was dented and it wasn't that big of a dent. And they said, we can give you $40 or we can give you a new workbench top. And I'm like, give me the top. And thanks for the option. What a great option. I can choose a financial discount, or I can choose like some work for myself, but I can get the product the way I want it. I'll take the product. And they did it. And they overnighted the damn thing. They might have lost money on it for all I know. Great customer service. Highly recommend. Trinity is the company that sells stuff through Costco. I'll just tell you the name because that's awesome. That's what I want. You guys made it right. Imagine if they were like, sorry, we can't do anything for it. And by the way, we're going to charge you extra. If you want, we can send you a discounted top. It'll cost you another $150 for another top to your, you'd be like, oh, what a shit company. You gave me a broken product and then you want to charge me more? That's what Trump's doing right now, in my experience. That's what I'm saying. Democrats are drawing the hard line. And of course, yeah, the people that voted against Donald Trump's agenda, we already knew they were going to be like that. This is how you end up with this thing. This was that sit down we played the other day to Steve Friend. I want you guys to see it. Here we go. Ready?
I'm starting to get great polls on the economy, which I think
the polls on the economy aren't they're not great.
They should be great.
They should be. So why aren't they? If you believe that,
I don't know.
I know why they're not great. The polls on the economy are not great because you're terrible at messaging and you overpromised and you underdelivered. This is why this stuff gets all kinds of coverage. Here's CBS News. Democrats reject the White House latest offer on ICE reform, with Homeland Security funding hanging in the balance. The answer is pull the money from somewhere else, the way they said they were going to build the wall. I mean, how many things have been not accomplished under Donald Trump that got half-assed? If he said we're going to build like a couple 100 miles of border wall, you'd say, yes, great, do that. If he said we're going to wall off all of Mexico, and then he did like an eighth of it, you'd be like, hey, man, that was like an eighth of it. What happened? You're held accountable to your own words. We know that Democrats are not going to want to fund this thing because they found that there's political hay to be made with people that are like overzealous, feminine leftists. Got it. And a bunch of dudes that are also getting it. And you're losing the media narrative. And instead of saying, you know what, we don't care what the media says. We made some promises and we're going to carry them out. So here we go. People would be like, yeah, I get that. I respect that. That's the right answer. Push ahead. What happened to having a majority? Or don't fund any government. I don't care. If you're like, hey, you know what? In the best interest of the American people, we're just not going to fund the government. And we're going to wait until we get what we want. Like Democrats are not going to be the ones who are going to own it. So we're going to own it. And Republicans promise small government. So we're going to get small government. And that means we're shutting down the government. We'll shut it down. The end. Great success. State and local guys, you're up. That's the most Republican thing you could do, isn't it? All right. And instead, we're just getting the push. We're getting the slop. We're getting the media narrative. There's nothing funnier. I got news yesterday, and I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time on it, but apparently Dan Bongino is going to go back and work for Fox News. Do you want to know the perfect analogy of what just happened? The people that say unapproved things, that question narrative, that ask, say, hey, why aren't you doing the great job that you said? You excommunicated. You're not part of the fold. There is still power in the mainstream media because there's still dumb people that still watch it completely without any scrutiny. Discussion with Alex Jones yesterday. We have a headline reading nation. If the headline says something and the body of the story says something else, 90% of people will not actually know what the story is, which is why there's still power and why there's still, CBS, NBC, ABC, why I read them every day. I want to know what the narrative spin is. And for the people on the right, it's Dan Bongino going to Fox. So let me get this straight. He didn't get his option picked up. At the same time, Tucker Carlson got kicked out. Tucker Carlson went his own way, continues to say things that are occasionally offensive to people on the political right, doesn't hold the mainstream narrative. He's said some things that are iffy about, he's said some fake history that I think is probably not true. He's gone into some stuff about Qatar, right? He's not 100% Israel's our greatest ally because obviously it's not. Like, who cares? But that's where he's gone. Dan Bongino, his heart lies with Israel, and every day he wakes up and that's a cause dear to his heart. Then he gets out there and goes and gives the slop narrative of the FBI. He gives the most pro-government bullshit the entire time he's working for the FBI, where we thought he was going to be doing the beachhead. We thought he was going to be one of the troops that was like leading the charge to go over there and de-weaponize that agency. One of Trump's major pieces, including in that video we just heard, get rid of the corrupt bureaucrats, didn't do it. Instead, he gave media-approved bullshit to Sean Hannity, went on with Maria Bartiromo, gave hostage videos talking about how Epstein killed himself. He'd seen the files, even though he hadn't seen the files, apparently, because we're going to show that in a second. And then what? Now he got a job there again. I thought he was super rich and he didn't need anything. I thought he was the podfather and he's back and all the grifters and losers and bums now have to watch his show because he owns you. We played that the other day. He owns you. Now he's going to go on Fox. Nothing says you're dropping to your knees for a government narrative than going on state-run media, which is essentially what Fox is when Republicans are in charge. We basically have two sides. We have state-run media and controlled opposition, and they fluctuate based on who has the power structure, right? That's what happens. The political left, they're in charge. They get the CNN, they get the NBCs, they get the CBSs, they get the ABCs. That's your state-run narrative. They push it out, flip it over. You get it Fox when the Republicans are in charge. That's your state-run media. That's your pro-government cheerleaders, your MAGA slop generators. Okay, cool. You guys want to know how I know some of this stuff is crazy? This is the files that apparently Bongino read about Epstein killing himself. This is a redacted piece from March 12th of 2020 discussing the recovery of the camera system at the jail where Epstein was found dead. It's on the screen right now and highlighted. This came out of the Epstein files that they just cannot get ahead of with the media narrative. Here we go. Blank, whoever this person is probably one of the agents or the guards or something, advised that the only one hard drive of the camera system was working at the time of the incident on August 10th, 2019. When a DVR went bad, none of the cameras recorded. There was a system failure on DVR 2 on July 29th of 2019, and a drive failure occurred on August 10th of 2019. Blank recalled that there was a body alarm around 6 a.m. on August the 10th of 2019, and he was one of the MCC personnel who responded. Blank stated that he was one of the personnel who briefly tried to resuscitate Jeffrey Epstein. After the incident, Blank was asked about the cameras. There were 2 new hard drives to install, but installing the new hard drives would mean that all prior data would be lost, and the warden wanted the video. And so Blank, let's go ahead and pull up the next thing, was told to start working on the system. Blank started removing the bad drives in order to rebuild the DVR. Blank advised that the FBI agent was the one who actually pulled the DVR. Blank also advised that he knew that by replacing both hard drives, the system would be wiped, and that he had been advised personnel at MCC of that. Let me translate that. They knew that if you pulled the hard drive, you'd lose everything that was in the system on the DVR. So an FBI agent pulled the hard drives, pulled the DVR out, knowing that it would wipe everything, and wiped it. So we don't have the camera footage, which may have been recording because somebody pulled a hard drive. That's what it says in the file. Like, I didn't write that. I don't know why the hell they wrote that, but that's what it says. And it's an interview of blank, which, why? So that's cool. But Dan saw the file. Epstein killed himself. They can't get out of this media narrative. So we're seeing two things happen at once. We're seeing a fight to try to push Thomas Massie out because you need a scapegoat, don't you? You got to be mad about something. You might as well be mad at Tom Massie. And the other option is the Democrat-controlled side of the media has managed to get away from this story. The Bill Clintons and the Democrats that are involved. And apparently, they can't actually stay on anything. They can't stay on any one thing that the people on the political right would like to claim as a victory, because the first thing the Trump administration did was come out and overpromise and underdeliver on the Epstein stuff. It is emblematic of the entire Agenda 47. It's emblematic of it. Promise one thing during the campaign and then run away from those campaign promises, and you're the asshole if you're the one who wants it done. We're going to do Epstein transparency. We need to release the list. J.D. Vance said it. Donald Trump Jr. said it. Various different surrogates came out and said it. Everybody did it as a punchline. People in his cabinet said it, acknowledged what was going on there, and then immediately tried to rewrite history. And if you still remember things that happened a few months ago, that's some old stuff. What's wrong with you? Why do you keep doing that? His attorney general said that there are huge lists of files, that they have a client list. It's on her desk. She's going to share it all with you. That started in February of last year. Over a year, they've been trying to run away from this. If something sticks around as a media story for a year, it's a pretty good indicator that there is no way you can fluff your way out of it. That should be something that people understand. This story convinces me, because I'll admit that I don't have the information. And by the way, neither do you. And so if we live in a world where you don't know the exact answer, the FBI has information that's not available to all of us. Apparently, some of us had special sources before they went in. That's what I heard. No, those people went and worked for the FBI, should have been able to see everything, probably don't even know how to use the file system. Now they got out. Now they're going to go work for Fox News. Here's how you know this is the law of contrary popular opinion. This is from the Boston Globe. This is actually a story from the Associated Press, which I saw over on X, and then it was picked up by multiple different outlets. So AP ran something similar. ABC ran it, and then this is the Boston Globe because it has a better screenshot on it. The FBI concluded Epstein wasn't running a sex trafficking ring for powerful men. Files show, written by Michael Sissick, David B. Caruso, and Larry Neumeister. It was published 2 days ago. The FBI pored over Epstein's bank records and emails. It searched his home and spent years interviewing his victims, examining the connections with the world's most influential people. But investigators camped ample proof that he sexually abused underage girls. They found scant evidence that the well-connected financier was running a sex trafficking ring serving powerful men. The Associated Press review of internal Justice Department records show. I now think that the exact opposite must be true because the Associated Press is running it. If you guys ever wanted to know what the media narrative looks like, it looks like the Associated Press and the wire services, Reuters and so on. Do you know that what happens? Somebody writes a story. In this case, it's Sissick, Caruso, Neumeister. That's what the wire service is. And then a bunch of different news outlets run it. And they'll literally run it with the same headline. So that same headline is plastered across ABC, CBS, NBC. It goes up on CNN. It gets put up there across the wire service, the propaganda that is run. It's run everywhere, and they all have the name. So we know it was written by the same guy, but it looks like it's being written by everyone is reporting the same thing. It's called single source reporting in the intel world, where you take a single source, comes in, gives you information, and then everybody runs out to their respective agencies, writes a report on it, and then you all get together and you're like, hey, the ATF, the DOJ, the ATF, the FBI, the DEA, Homeland Security, local law enforcement places, Sheriff's Department, everybody's saying the same thing. It came from the same source, a single source. That's what the AP is. Reuters is the same thing. Wire services are single source. And when the single source is out there telling you that they concluded that it was not running a sex trafficking ring, that makes my hackles go up and go, oh, it's probably the opposite of that. Because I've lived through the last few minutes. Because I've been alive for the last 5 years, watching things go like, this is a lie. And when people tell me an obvious lie, then I have to be curious about it. And then you see, what did people say in Trump's own cabinet? Let's hold them accountable for their own words. How about a guy that used to live next door to Jeffrey Epstein? Howard Lutnick used to live next door. And his name is in the files. And it's not necessarily damning stuff. But you know what? I've got neighbors and I know little things about them. I may not know all the things about them, but I know what industry they work in. Some of them I know what they used to do, where they came from, where they grew up, whatever. Some of them I just know because I see them walk in and out. So I know their patterns. I know maybe they have a dog, maybe they have a cat, which may or may not live very long. I know that they come into the cul-de-sac driving really fast. I know the number of people that live there. I know if they were to start having a new boyfriend or a new lover showing up at the house, because I'd be like, oh, that car wasn't here before. You know some things about your neighbors. You just kind of see things in passing, do you not? Here's a member of Trump's cabinet talking about his neighbor and what's going on. There are some things that we can learn, and we can take him at his word. What did Lutnick say? Because he said that guy was gross, and he was a blackmailer. So why is there no blackmailing in the Epstein files that we've been able to find? And why are we reporting from the AP that the opposite is true?
The guy's gross. Right with my wife. He's gross. The guy's gross. This was not, the deep nuance of Howard Lutnick. This guy's gross.
Right. So how come Bill Gates and all these other people could hang around him and not see what you saw? Or did they see it and ignore it? Or
no, they participated.
Right.
That's what his MO was, get a massage. And what happened in that massage room, I assume, was on video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever. Blackmailed people. That's how he had money.
I mean, that's a pretty specific claim. He said, I assume it was on video. So he doesn't know. So we're going to take him at his word that he's assuming something there. Then he just said he was the greatest blackmailer ever. That's why he had money. Well, that's a really big leap. He was the greatest blackmailer ever. That's why he had money. That's a member of Trump's cabinet saying that. And now we're supposed to act like that wasn't the case. Look, all of these things go back to you said it. Now you're responsible for explaining why that's not true. If you make an allegation, if you go and say, I have all this sourcing and I know what's going on. If you say that, like, I understand that the 9/11 or sorry, not 9/11, but January 6th, the other 9/11, January 6th was an inside job. It was set up by the government. And then you go out there and you're doing the investigation and you're actually part of the organization that should be able to determine whether it is. And you're like, sorry, it wasn't. It was just some black autistic guy. Shouldn't you have to explain how you did a huge turnabout? The 180 that Jimmy Dore was talking about there? It just bugs me. I just listen to people. I take them at their word. I say, okay, I don't think people are inherently deceptive, even though many people have self-deceived. Now that you've decided to say something new, can you give me a reason why? By the way, there are many reasons why you might explain why you've changed your opinion. Every one of us has changed our opinion on something. You're like, oh, well, new facts came to light. Well, okay, yeah. What are those new facts? Could you please share them with us? This is what I'm asking for. Can we not get the case agents from the FBI to come out and say, look, here's the theory of the case. Here's why we predicated it. Here's what we were investigating. We did the following processes. We served subpoenas. We did some search warrants. Here's what came out of those. Here's what leads we followed up on. We found out that these people, even though it looked really bad, it turned out that they were actually not in the area where they could have actually been part of something. So we found this exculpatory information. So we discontinued investigation of them. We continued on these things, and we found that these things were actually not what they meant. And by the way, they totally were just talking about actual pizza. They were just really big pizza fanatics, man. I mean, they were so into pizza, these people, that we've redacted the names of, and we're not going to tell you what they are because it's so important that you don't learn that these people were just regular people talking to a creep who was gross, per his neighbor, the greatest blackmailer of all time, per his neighbor. The reason he had money is because he was videotaping people, per his neighbor. And by the way, per the guy who used to be the number 2 at the FBI, said these things. They just really freaking loved pizza. And they just wanted to see if there was only one slice of pizza left, that they were going to slice it really thin with one of those roller slicers so everybody got a little taste because it was such good pizza. And also beef jerky, which apparently needs to be walked up to you and can be served hot or cold and needs to go to a lab to be evaluated. What the shit is that? Like, go to your Google file right now. Go to your Gmail. You all have them, so don't act like you don't have Gmail. Go to your Gmail and do a search. Type in beef jerky. And if it doesn't return a thing like Matt Hat Jerky because you were listening to me and buying beef jerky, which, by the way, that's the only time you're going to find jerky in my emails, or if you don't find pizza and it doesn't represent the Domino's order you had or the local pizza joint that you go to that you can do an online order for and you get a receipt in the email, if it doesn't represent that, if it's not you getting an email from your wife or your husband saying, hey, we're going to do the soccer team, and so we're going to need like 11 pizzas, and we got to spread it out, and it needs to be delivered to the field, or you're going to pick it up at home, and you're going to take it to the soccer field so everyone can have pizza after the game, like regular people do. If you have emails inside your Gmail that talk about you and your friends who love pizza so much that you're going to split one piece of it 7 ways and it's hot and glowing, which is what I was listening to Alex Jones read yesterday, you're going to have to explain something to me. Like, what's wrong with you? Why are you like that? And nobody normal reads that and goes like, oh yeah, that's just what happens. Like, people talk about grape soda and pizza. Like, billionaires love to talk about grape soda, pizza, hot dogs, all this other weird shit. And if it was just in a vacuum, you'd be like, well, that's obviously weird. It's clearly a code. Did the FBI go in there and go, look, sometimes this code, cheese pizza, means child pornography. But in this case, we were actually able to see that they were using a different code, and they were using it to mean drugs, heroin, I don't know, cocaine. What did it stand for? They clearly had to run down that information when they got those emails, because it appears over 1,000 times. So what did it mean then? That's it. That's the question. If you're not going to be transparent about, hey, I know this looks super weird, we're going to give you 3 million files and hope you don't notice it. AI exists. It's like they're operating on a system that is so old they can't even remember that there are tools that are meant to analyze major data groups now. And people can walk in and just go, what does this stuff mean? And the FBI would be like, oh, well, we did the investigation next there. And we have an entire group that runs down child pornographers and child sexual assault, creators of material. And this is what we found out. There were some overseas people. There was some trading in this thing. There's no U.S. jurisdiction there. We couldn't do anything about it. We recognize that there were some victims, but we don't think they were domestic. Like, tell us the story. Or you could just tell us that Tom Massie's the bad guy because he's asking the questions. And so we've had this attempt, and it's going on right now. It's going on with the MAGA influence crowds and the Bannon types, the people that want it. The Laura Loomers are doing it. He's a Democrat operative because he's saying the same things that Donald Trump actually promised on the campaign, that people who are around Donald Trump promised on the campaign. And for some reason, silly us, we took them seriously. We're like, yeah, let's talk about that. What the heck is going on there?
I mean, what we're after is the men who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked women to. We want those names published. We're not out to embarrass people. And the problem is, we went in there hoping to see that in 302 forms. What we found out is those 302 forms were redacted before they got to the DOJ. But our legislation directs the FBI, which is the agency that produced those 302 forms, to also produce these documents. The Attorney General is ultimately responsible for that production, so that's why we're here at the DOJ to view these files. But there needs to be more information given in those 302s. So I was disappointed we didn't find that. But it's also clear, just sort of as a checking their homework, that they need to do a little more homework. There are 6 men. We went in there for 2 hours. There's millions of files, right? And in a couple of hours, we found 6 men whose names have been redacted, who are implicated in the way that the files are presented.
Do you know how you fix that? What an irrational man that Tom Massie is. I just heard him. He's out there trying to get Trump. What did he just say? The DOJ has some information. It's not enough. They need to do some more homework. They need to go back to the original source material. They need to go back to the generator of those files, which was the FBI, which for some reason redacted a bunch of 302s, and they need to unredact them. Because while the DOJ got them in redacted form, that's not what the law says. The FBI is also responsible as a DOJ syndicate, as a part of the umbrella of DOJ. They are meant to go back and unredact. That's what he said. Did he say that all these people should be hung? Did he say they're all obviously guilty? No. Did he say like really salacious things that are headline worthy? No. He just said, this wasn't done well, and there's more stuff that needs to come out. And the reason that it's not done well is not even something he speculated on. We can speculate. Was it because the FBI is covering for someone? Was it because the previous FBI director and the administrators all got some marching orders and they're carrying it out? Or is it because there's a bunch of low-level bureaucrats that just like redacted stuff as a default position because that's what they do when you try to get information from the FBI? They don't do things with FOIA in a way that makes sense. They don't actually believe in freedom of information. They don't actually believe that you have access to their file system. They all try to hide behind all the caveats. So is that what they try to do? Because that's a pretty reasonable explanation. Where the hell are the case agents that did this stuff? And they can just explain to us, here's the theory of the case. Here's why we redacted this. These are the things we ran down. It wasn't there. Everybody thought there was this. Yeah, there was a big drum up on it. And we went exhaustively into it and we spent this many resources and this many hours. Yeah, or it's way worse, which is what I'm led to believe. It's only because I just don't believe when we've got the narrative coming out from ABC and the Associated Press telling us that nothing happened and stop and move on. And it's the same thing that the establishment is saying, which is, the current Republican administration. What the hell are we supposed to think? Like, you guys are a bunch of liars. Again, state-run media is running it and the AP is running it. Sounds like we're missing some things. By the way, Lauren Boebert went in and saw unredacted files, came out and said things like Ghislaine Maxwell should be doing more prison time, not be getting a pardon. Anna Paulina Luna, I'm not a big fan of either of those two, to be fair. They both came out and said it's actually worse. I don't think they're just being salacious. I think that we're talking about people who they don't know what they're looking at, and they were not shown something that made sense on purpose. They were shown something that didn't make sense. The Trump administration failed on this. They should have ripped the flippin' Band-Aid off in February of last year. They could have done it in March or April or May or June or July. And instead what they did is they leaked, remember this, remember the timeline. They leaked a memo to Axios of all people that said, unsigned by anybody, that DOJ and FBI both concurred that there are going to be no further prosecutions and nobody did anything bad. And we're moving on. There'll be no additional work done. And it continues to haunt them. Why? Why do these people who, in theory, understand media narrative, the people who came out of Trump's background, are supposed to know how to handle the press? Why are they failing so dramatically? And I'm asking that because I actually don't know. Why do you continue to give massive fuel and speculative sort of oxygen to this fire, which keeps burning? It's not going to go away. The right answer was a long time. They can do it at any time. They could hold a press conference with the people to tell the story of what they found and why. And apparently, it's not working, so they've deployed Dan Bongino back to Fox. That's what I see. I see a line like this because I see Dan Bongino's exit from the FBI 100% and inextricably tied to the handling of this story, to the point where his fellow former Fox host, remember Tucker Carlson and Dan Bongino left within about a week of each other. And they left, and Tucker said in July of last year that his reputation, Bongino's reputation, cannot recover until this thing is solved. Cannot. They're inextricably linked. He will forever be facing videos of people saying, he killed himself. I saw the files. Killed himself. Nobody's going to not see that saw that. And they're going to go, well, what changed your tune? And again, there may be a great explanation for it. That's the craziest part about it. But if you came to my house and the first thing I said is that, like, no one's allowed to be on my lawn ever. Don't ever touch my lawn. Stay off the lawn no matter what you do. And you'd be like, oh my God, like, what's going on with that lawn? And then like a month later, I was like, everybody can come on the lawn. And you go, well, what changed? And you go, what do you mean? What do you mean what changed? You're like, oh shit, is there something on the lawn? Is it a trap? Does he have punji sticks underneath there? Are there toe poppers down there? Are there claymores built in, like in the bushes? Like what? Why is he inviting everybody on the lawn? He was really, really adamant. Why did you have a 180-degree flip from your position? That's it. There may be a totally reasonable thing. He was like, oh, I was putting seed in. I needed to take root for a month. Now it's fine. Now you can walk on it. Oh, okay. That's rational. It's like, why did you not tell us what changed your mind? What shook you to your core? Crossfire hurricane? Give me a break. I can't get over this stuff, especially the things like he was the greatest blackmailer from a guy who lived right next door. I'll do it one more time here. Ready?
Guy's gross. Right with my wife. He's gross. The guy's gross. This was not, the deep nuance of Howard Lutnick. This guy's gross.
Right. So how come Bill Gates and all these other people could hang around him and not see what you saw? Or did they see it and ignore it? Or
no, they participated.
Right.
That's what his MO was, get a massage. And what happened in that massage room, I assume, was on video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever. Blackmailed people. That's how he had money.
That's how he had money. Lawmakers don't rule out exposing the names of powerful people in the Epstein files. You can't help it. And I also know it's problematic when people lose their damn minds about something. Sometimes you tell me where the fire is because of your reaction. Here's a bunch of smoke from Alan Dershowitz. And I've seen him do this, and it always seems like it's an outsized reaction. Now, maybe he's just really upset about his reputation being besmirched, and that's possible. But referring to this as McCarthyism, I mean, this was a fire set by the party that he's out there sort of, he's on what, Newsmax on this? So he's out there going on GOP outlets. Who fanned the flames of the story of Epstein? The GOP. They said it was all about Bill Clinton. They said nonstop that it was all about this stuff, that there were a bunch of powerful Democrats and big Democrat donors and Bill Gates types people, and they all had the money and all the bad guys were doing it. And then as soon as they get in, like everybody like turns their corner. And this goes back to my previous statement about people in Congress and leaving and the compromise. Nobody gets shown the file like, yo, you're dirty and or we're going to kill your family. I don't think that happens. I just don't. Everybody thinks that's what goes on. I think they already knew that they were morally flexible people in the first place. It's way easier to get them upstream. It's way easier. Push candidacy of people that already are compromised. Find people that have already committed to saying what needs to be said. I'll actually show you a reason how I know that's true. And I'm going to show you why I think the Bongino going to Fox is actually like, it's a reputational death for people that have independent minds. But if you're a slop consumer, you don't care. All right, here's Dershowitz, like sort of protesting too much. You guys tell me.
McCarthyism that has afflicted America since the 1950s. I want you to look at this paper that has been reproduced and sent by the Justice Department. It's called Prominent Names. And it's a list of prominent people who have been accused. Every single name of every accuser has been blacked out. So, for example, let's turn to me. It says blank, 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 blacked out. Stated she gave him a massage on Epstein's plane, parenthesis, not a minor. So let's understand that. This is an adult, a woman who was on Epstein's plane, she says. I was never on an Epstein plane with a young woman.
Right.
I never got a massage. This is total defamation, a total lie, but I can't disprove it because they won't give me her name. That's McCarthyism. On the issue of his spying okay, well, let me continue.
Let's get
on
to that.
On the issue of his for the Mossad, that comes from what is called an undercover confidential source. I happen to know who the source is. The source is somebody who the FBI investigated, found to be totally incredible, lacked all credibility. This is the worst form of McCarthyism. Why are we tolerating this? Why are we allowing accusations without the names of the accusers? For example, in my case, it's an adult woman. We don't know whether she's a victim. We don't know whether she's a perpetrator. We don't know whether she's a co-conspirator. Why do you hide her name and produce the name of the people?
Give me the name of the people that have said things that are mean so we can go after them. That's what I heard. Right? You're kind of protesting quite a bit there, Dershowitz. A lot. And I don't think that's McCarthyism. This is the funny thing. People can say things in America. I'm a First Amendment absolutist. You know what that means? I think that no matter what you say is fine. People say all kinds of crazy, horrible things about me too. It's a bummer. Nobody likes it. When you say things that are fake about me, which I had one happen yesterday, somebody said, you got removed from the FBI because of negligence. I was like, negligence? Oh, okay, that's a new one. I've read my file, guys. I'm going to go to tell you, there's an expert on me, and it's me. And it's a few people that know me, but like they're probably not experts the way that I'm an expert. Why? Because it's my story. It's my story. I know it better than anybody. I know what I'm worried about, what I'm not worried about in my life. I'll tell you what, I'm not worried about anything that I did at the FBI. Nothing. Zero things. They could publish my entire personnel record and I would not care. It would show that John Nance, who's been promoted by Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and goes out and writes hit pieces on me, that he gave me an excellent rating as an employee when he was my boss. That's what it shows. It shows that I got promoted every single year, that I got an award every single year that I worked there. Greater or lesser. And that the woman who ended up removing me because of COVID stuff and because of being a whistleblower gave me an award that was like beyond what most people will ever get in the FBI when it comes to cash awards. Yeah. Negligence. And I was like, where'd you get that? And they're like, your files are all over the internet. I'm like, publish them, dude. I don't care. Seriously, point me to where my files are. Oh, and then you've got Dershowitz, and he was like, this woman said this thing. She said a thing and it was mean about me. I need to know who she is so I can destroy her. It's like, just say it's not true. And then you move on. And people that know you know it's not true. People that think it's true, they're going to think it's true anyway. Why are you freaking out about that? I know that we got a problem in this country when it comes to media narratives. I know that there are people out there trying to push something really aggressively and the American people aren't buying it. And it's not just the economy and it's not just the failure to carry out campaign promises. This Epstein story is a touch point for that. And the reason why is it represents three major things. The potential abuse of children. Children who are under the age of 18 are still children. 16-year-olds that live in your house are children. Men who are in their 50s that are dating 18-year-olds are freaking scumbags. They're dirtbags. They're gross. Howard Lutnick would agree that they're gross. Okay? So whether it's prepubescent women or postpubescent but underage and minors, all that stuff is nasty. So that's one thing. Nobody likes to see young women who are impressionable and are easily victimized at every level, including just emotionally manipulated. Nobody wants to see that. Their dads would beat the living shit out of the people that would do that to them, right? If they're masculine American men, let's just agree on that. So the abuse of children under the age of 18, that's a problem for Western society. That's part one. Part two, the possibility of elite second-tier justice, that some people don't have to face normal justice, that they can do things that are very different than the rest of us would expect, that there is no justice on earth, and this represents that to them, that if you got enough money, then you also can buy an outcome. That's really, really anti-American. Americans hate that. It takes away from the democratization of justice, the idea that justice is blind. We know it's not, but throwing it in our faces makes us sick. So nobody likes seeing that. And then the third part is the possibility of using moral depravity and people's overtly disgusting sins to manipulate them to do additional sins against their nation, against their instincts, and doing things that are horribly awful for the world, on the world stage. Abusing kids, 2 tiers of justice, and then using moral depravity against people that want to see themselves as moral and good and justice in this country. That's it. Those are really, really, really big touchstones. And all of those are feelings based. And all of those are sort of foundational to Western society, that we outsource justice and it doesn't have any sort of, bearing on how much money you have, that we protect women and children. We really want to do that. That's a Christian ideal. That is an American ideal. The idea that you look forward to a future that has to come by protecting women and children. It has to. And then lastly, that we are free of this like institutionalized corruption that uses people's fallen nature to easily abuse them and to lean on their sins to be able to manipulate world events. Like nobody wants to feel about any of those things are true. You cannot run away from this story. You cannot say, are you still talking about the story? How come you haven't moved on? The only way you do it is shine a glaring spotlight on it. Trump had the opportunity to do this. At some point, it has to go above Bongino. It has to go above Kash Patel. It has to go above Todd Blanche and Pam Bondi. And it has to hit the person who is the chief executive in this country, who at the end of the day, all of their powers lie in his office. And that man has failed to do it for whatever reason. And it doesn't mean that he's guilty. It just means that he's made himself look guiltier and guiltier. And that is what he is going to have to live with until he fixes it. And that may not ever get fixed. The odds are, if I were to project from the previous performance what I expect in the next year, he will continue to run away from it, and he will get slaughtered in the midterms, and then he will be impeached. And it will be his own fault. He promised something, didn't deliver it, and it was so easy to do. All you had to do is be the media savvy person that we thought you were, because you went in there as a media savvy person. Everybody expected to get Dave and the Apprentice, as we said on Friday's show. They wanted Dave the movie from the 80s, a 90s rather, a business savvy person, a man who came from industry that understood that government was crooked and did a shitty job. And so we just need someone who's fiscally responsible, that understands what money is and how it works and how to fix things that way. And then also, we wanted the other piece of it is corrupt bureaucrats, you're fired. And instead what we got is, why are we still talking about the Epstein files? Horrifically bad. Here's my last little piece on state-run media. And this is the evidence that you should be using to all your friends and family members and the people that still listen to these major news outlets, which are controlled. There's no question about them. And I'm going to give you evidence from someone that I'm not a big fan of. I don't like Megyn Kelly. I think she's tacky. I think she's an actress. She personally tried to come after us. You guys don't know this, but I got emails from her producer. They were looking for comment when they were running hit pieces about me because they're doing this story about the FBI director's girlfriend in the lawsuit, which is crap. By the way, that's ongoing. Megyn Kelly said the quiet part out loud. When I was at Fox, I knew what I had to do and say. That's why Dan Bongino's there. That's why the people who are there are there. That's why Pam Bondi has unlimited access to show up on the airwaves. Kristi Noem will always have an option to do an interview. Todd Blanche can sit down and get a favorable interview. Anybody who's part of this administration that wants to push their slop can go to Fox News, because for right now, while the Republicans are in charge, Fox News is the state-run media. And when the other team gets involved, then they'll be the controlled opposition that says the opposite of it. And they push back and they're holding to account. But it's all scripted, kayfabe. It's all the stuff you'd see in World Wrestling. It's all WWE, slam a chair, pre-cut yourself so you get a lot of blood so it looks legit. Here she is saying that.
I really think this is something we need to consider both sides on. I really do. I don't think, let me just tell you something. When I was at Fox News, which was a long time, 14 years, I would have known exactly what to do in the wake of Trump's attack in Venezuela, his retrieval, shall we say, to put it in mild terms, of Nicolas Maduro. I would have known that I was supposed to cheerlead it. And I turned on Fox News yesterday, and I'm sorry, but it was like watching Russian propaganda. There was nothing skeptical. It was all rah-rah, cheerleading. Yes, let's go. And that's fine. I love our military as much as anyone, and I believe in President Trump. But
okay, Catwoman. So here's the deal. She said for 14 years, she would have known what to do. She turned on and she saw Russian propaganda now that she's no longer there. So that is saying that I would have been part of the Russian propaganda had I been there. And I was part of the Russian propaganda, and I did it for 14 years. And they all do it on either side. So I knew what I would have needed to do, but now I see it and I'm better than that. And I'm sickened by it. Do we think, given an opportunity, Megyn Kelly takes the same sort of train that Dan Bongino does? They leave for principles, but they go back for the money, because access and money is where it's always at for these people. If you can be bought for 14 years, and she's in her 50s now, people. If you can be bought when you're a grown adult who should be held accountable for your own decisions and your own actions, then you can always be bought. You've always got a price. And I don't, by the way. I had OAN reach out the other day and say, hey, would you come on and do our program? And I go, no, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in doing it. Is it good for reach? Yes. Is it good for my show? Yes. Is it good to be able to promote myself to an audience of people that listen to OAN or Newsmax or go on Fox? It is. Do you know why I don't go there? Because I don't like telling someone, they go, Seraphin, will you come on our show? And I go, sure. Okay, fine, I will. And they go, great. Can you please send us some talking points? And I write back, I don't really do talking points. I just answer questions when people have things for an interview. Well, we need talking points if we're going to have you on. Otherwise, we're going to bump you. Like, look, I don't give a shit. I don't care about being on your program because I'm not trying to be part of your cookie cutter narrative that you are scripting. They script it out. They find an actor that's willing to say the right lines. And if your lines match what they're selling on that night, then they'll put you on, and then they'll run the reverse, mortgages, and then they'll run the gold IRAs, and they'll run the pocket catheters, and they'll sell you some drugs from Pfizer. That's what these things are all about. There are a growing number of people aware of it, but not enough. So as long as you guys get an opportunity, I'd love it if you share that little clip and let them know those people who are on those programs, and even the guests, they're all available for getting sucked into it. The first 1 or 2 times I went on, I was never asked what I was going to say. By the way, whenever I was on Bongino's show, I never once gave talking points. I never knew what they were going to ask me about. They said, we're going to cover this thing. And it's like, cool. I'd read up on it, and then I would be ready to talk about it. Never once on Dan Bongino's Unfiltered did I have to ever give them talking points. But every other thing, Jesse Waters, I don't know if we did it for Tucker either. I think we just went on the story. Tucker's, I didn't have to do it. Jesse Waters, they always wanted talking points, and they boot you whenever they don't. Laura Ingraham, they wanted talking points. And then a couple times they were pitching me on Sean Hannity. They wanted to script out what was basically going to be said and asked and talked about. Not interested, ever. So I'll continue to do that. We'll continue to be smaller than necessary because I'm not willing to whore myself out. By the way, that's what I called that clip. Megyn Kelly, news media whore. I don't know why I called it that, but that's what it sounds like to me. If you're willing to sell your opinion and sell your mouth, if you're willing to sell your voice and your mouth for an agenda that is not something that you actually believe, you're an actor or you're a whore or both. There you go. Boop. Are we having fun yet today? Guys, it's Tuesday. Feels like Wednesday. Thanks for joining us on the program here. If you're watching, share it. I don't know what the technical difficulties are. Find us over on Spotify. This is where you do it. If you want to find us on Spotify, you can go to KyleSeraphinShow.com. Just type that in. Bloop. you'll find it in. It'll pull it up. You don't even have to download the app. You can download the app, though, and I think it's better for podcasts because you get video and you get audio. You may hear an ad from them at the end of the program. We appreciate you guys listening to them or not. I don't care. Either way, skip them if you want. KyleSeraphin.com is how you get to our locals. If wherever you're watching, you have not hit the subscribe button and joined the channel, I'd appreciate it if you did. Join us with a like. It costs you nothing, by the way. And by the way, subscribing to someone doesn't mean you're committed to anything. Like, you're probably not even going to get us in the feed. Rumble doesn't recommend us. I don't think YouTube does either. So all you're doing is boosting the number up there. So maybe you can find us when you want to. That's how it works. The like is free as well. So hit it, boost us in the algo. I did give you guys a palate cleanse today. I'd be foolish not to. So let's talk about something. My wife is probably the biggest advocate of women not voting. Is that funny? I think so. My wife, who came out of Brooklyn and was raised by people that were clearly on the hard left to the point where, like, my father-in-law is a borderline, maybe actual communist. And my mother-in-law believes all the things, raises money for all kinds of Democrat causes. We do not agree on politics. They're nice people. Doesn't mean they're bad people. My wife has somehow radicalized to wearing a veil when we go to church, to praying the rosary regularly. She prays 5 times more often than I do, and converted to Catholicism while we were married. She also doesn't think women should vote. And she sent me this clip. This is fun.
Women obviously have a higher capacity for empathy than men. But that empathy can be manipulated into giving empathy for people who don't deserve it. And that's a problem. And they can be manipulated into doing things that are not in their best interest. And that's why, Greg, I want our audience to consider amending the 19th Amendment.
Really?
Now I'm not saying, no, whoa, women, I'm not saying I don't want you to vote. I'm just saying not for the important stuff.
Yeah.
No, but let me hear me out. No. You can still vote. No. There's plenty of ladies. There's plenty of things for you to still vote for. America's Got Talent, Dancing with the Stars, the school board, Employee of the Month at Whole Foods. There's plenty for you to still get excited about and vote. I'm just saying, for the big stuff, leave it to the less suicidal, empathetic humans, men.
Totally not wrong. That's Rob Schneider. He was on Gutfeld. Sometimes they do work in some biting humor. And why is it? Because comedians oftentimes can tell us things that are true and funny in a way that we can actually hear it. And yeah, I think women should vote on who the best employee is at Whole Foods. I don't know who the best employee is, but maybe someone behind the deli counter is it. That'd be fine. And America's Got Talent, not interested. I think you should vote for what the best halftime show was. People kept asking me, like, which halftime show was better? I was like, dude, I'm a grown-up. I don't watch men in costumes wearing like leggings run around and bash into each other. I'm doing other stuff. I didn't even have a TV on in my house while apparently there was a Super Bowl. Not only do I not know who played, I don't know who won, and I don't know anything about any of the halftime shows other than, like, I saw some random coverage which seemed like it was kind of blasphemous. So that's what I think about that. All right. Have a great day. Have fun. We'll see you guys again tomorrow morning, Wednesday. And God bless you. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to The Kyle Seraphin Show, streamed live weekdays on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Follow Kyle on Twitter, Truth Social, and Instagram @Kyle Seraphin.